All right, how's it going, champions? Getting ready to start Unit 2, new unit on what makes a civilization complex. Okay, we just finished our last unit with our summative assessment and also our end of unit project where we answered the question, how did the environment shape us? So a lot of the things that we learned in the last unit, Unit 1, will apply here. And we're going to see where those similarities and those connections are made. Okay, the learning target for today is I understand the meaning of the essential question, what makes a civilization complex? Okay, and the compelling question, this is going to be the question, the big idea that we're going to come back to every lesson that we have. It's what makes a civilization complex. Civilization being a group of people that is advanced, and we're going to talk about the traits. Okay, a supporting question to get at this, we're going to ask, why was Louisville rated as one of the coolest cities in the U.S.? And that was by Forbes magazine. And why do we think that Louisville is so great, of a place to live? And so what are the things that we like about Louisville? What are some of the things that we may not like so much? Then we're going to have another supporting question. What are the traits of a complex civilization? What does the acronym GRAPES, GRAPES, mean? Okay, and in the closing task, is that I can evaluate the complexity of Uruk, which is an ancient city in Mesopotamia or Iraq, using the acronym or memory tool GRAPES. And I'll just give it away. GRAPES is geography, religion, achievements, politics, economics, and social structure or hierarchy. So let's get at this question here. Forbes ranks Louisville coolest city in the U.S. Forbes is this magazine that everybody, gives a lot of credit to for being factual, and a lot of people read it. So it's a big deal when Louisville was ranked coolest city in the U.S. And cool means, it could mean a lot of things, but certainly it means that it is a complex city. Okay, but what made it cool? What made it complex? If we use those words synonymously. So what we're going to do now is we're going to watch a video on Louisville. Okay, and then I want to come back and we're going to ask this question: what makes Louisville cool? Okay, so here we go.
On the first Saturday of May, all eyes turn to Louisville for the historic running of the Kentucky Derby. For over 130 years, Churchill Downs has hosted this, the most prestigious horse race in the world. People from all points on the globe make the trek to Louisville to join in the grand festivities. Louisville, though, is much more than horse racing and the Kentucky Derby. The city has a teeming arts community with a resident theater, opera, and ballet companies, as well as an orchestra. Museums range from the Speed Museum, a jewel of an art gallery that continues to build its own impressive collection, as well as bring in outstanding special exhibits, to the Louisville Slugger Museum, honoring the 120-year history of baseball's most important piece of equipment. Louisville also has a zoo, a theme park, state fairgrounds, over 120 parks for the outdoor enthusiast. Did we mention incredible dining? Thanks to a recent city-county merger, Louisville is now the 16th largest city in the U.S. It enjoys the amenities of a larger city, yet residents enjoy, in many ways, life in a smaller town. The area is compact enough for quick commutes and easy access, and the cost of living is consistently below the national average. With an eclectic mix of neighborhoods, residents of Louisville can choose from a wide range of lifestyles, including downtown loft living, a mix of historic suburbs, or a newly built suburban home. The Jefferson County Public School System is honored frequently for its high standards and innovations, and offers everything from traditional schools to Montessori, to vocational training, to high school magnet programs. Louisville's economy thrives on diversity. It's a manufacturing center, a regional healthcare center, a UPS hub, and the home of international food giant Yum Brands. Louisville is also recognized as a top city for small business growth and a smart, hard-working workforce. Louisville correctly proclaims itself to be the city of possibilities, offering to its citizens the arts, sports, a healthy workforce, a beautiful environment, and a low cost of living.
Okay, so that is everything about. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Stop. Okay, So what we're do is, ask this question. Okay, we just saw a bunch of different things about our city of Louisville, the great city of Louisville. Right now, we're under a little bit distress, but that's okay. We'll bounce back. We have so many times in our past. So, at this time, I would ask you, why would Louisville be ranked as one of the coolest cities in the United States, and what is cool about it? So, I would just like you to make a list of ideas. You heard the museum, 16th largest city, manufacturing, small business, large range of lifestyles, great schools, so a lot of opportunities. What are some of the things that you think makes Louisville cool? Okay, and as we look at those, we're going to come back to this at the end, but we're going to look at a video now about this acronym GRAPES. Okay, GRAPES is what we're going to be using to evaluate or assess how complex civilizations are. So what I want you to do is watch this video about grapes, and think of cool equals complex equals advanced. How do we evaluate if a civilization is complex? Okay, we're going to be using these words again: geography, religion, achievements, politics, economics or economy, and social structure. Okay, so let's look at this video about grapes. Okay, now think about the words, watch what they're saying about each of the definitions. We're going to come back to that.
Geography, religion, achievements, politics, economics, social structure. Geography deals with location, neighboring countries, and natural resources that affect the population. Religion is all about worship, a people's beliefs and how it affected daily life and the government. Achievements include a society's contributions, architecture, art, inventions, and mathematical solutions. When discovering a new civilization, using grapes will help you learn the ins and outs of a nation. Geography, religion, achievements, politics, economics, social structure. Geography, religion, achievements, politics, economics, social structure. Politics regard those in power. Do the people have rights and freedoms, or are they forced to bow down and cower? Economics can be very complex. Who do they trade with? What are their jobs? Are they farmers, or do they cast fishing nets? Social structure is about the people. Are they segregated? Are they stratified? Or is everyone equal? When discovering a new civilization, using grapes will help you learn the ins and outs of a nation. Geography, religion, achievements, politics, economics, social structure. Geography, religion, achievements, politics, economics, social structure. Geography, religion, achievements, politics, economics, social structure.
All right. I love that song. I love that song. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to be singing it all day. I'm sure you will as well. But that's good because you're going to remember all the words and that are associated with the acronym. That is using letters to as a memory device. But the point of this is to get at what does each of these means. Now I'll have the Nearpod posted. You can go through the matching. But what I'm going to ask you to do is what is geography about? It's about those things that we talked for. It's about landforms. It's about the weather. It's about where a nation or people are located, right? Religion is about worship, it's about beliefs, it's about gods, it's about power structure as well. Okay, achievements, think of achievements as we talked about technology and those inventions and applications that made man's life easier or better. Okay, politics is about the government. Okay, we talked about this, when we talked about hierarchy, and we talked about who was at the top, the leader, whether or the king or the pharaoh, whoever that may be at the top, and the people on down, to the bottom. Then the economy is, how a nation gets its wealth. That includes, through trade, through specialization of labor, how people have their jobs to produce certain things. And then social structure is also has to do with hierarchy, is who's at the top and who's at the bottom. And what advantages and disadvantages. We know that the advantages of a hierarchy or a social structure is that you have organization because you have somebody at the top. But the problem is that people at the bottom may not have the ability to move up, or they may be disenfranchised or oppressed, like with slaves that we had talked about in that hierarchy. Okay, so you'll do the matching pairs there. Now, the thing that I want to talk about, because we've been talking about this, it just occurred to me that you're probably saying, Mr. Johnson, what do you mean when you say BCE or CE? BCE and CE is how we look at break up time or the timeline over history. It used to be BC or AD, and this is all about the birth of Christ as the start point for the modern era. Okay, so the birth of Christ would be the start point. And in the Christian terms, before Christ is everything that happened before Christ was BC. Everything that happened after Christ was AD. Well, what we use now, a secular term is a term that's non-religious, that is common to every person, regardless of their religion or their beliefs, is before the common era. So everything before the birth of Jesus is before the common era. Everything after the birth of Jesus is CE. So right now we live in 2020 CE, okay, the common era, 2020 common era. Okay, so that's 2020 years after the birth of Christ. Now, what we're studying now, we're getting ready to talk about a civilization called Uruk, which kind of sounds like Iraq, right? Well, it is because that's where Mesopotamia was. And Iraq. So Iraq. So that was around, 3500 BCE. So, that is way over here, 3500. Now, 2020 is over here in CE. Okay, so you know what all that means. Okay, cool. Okay, we'll come back to that. Okay, so what we're going to look at now is what made ancient cities cool. The city of Uruk in Mesopotamia, which is Iraq now, and we're talking about 3800 to 450 BCE, before the Common Era. So that was before the birth of Christ, BCE. Okay. So what I want to do now is we're going to read what made Uruk the world's first big city. So we're going to blow this up a little bit, and we're going to boom, boom. Okay. And so I'm going to read this together. So we'll do a close reading. Okay. Between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in a region called Mesopotamia, the soil there was rich and easy to farm. The world's first major city appeared in Mesopotamia. The first cities appeared in several places around the world about the same time. Most archaeologists, those are people that study ancient artifacts, agree that about 5,000 years ago, Uruk was one of the first, Uruk, I'm sorry, I keep calling it Iraq because I think of Iraq. Uruk was one of the first cities. And what makes it a city? People in the city have different jobs. They are political and religious leaders. There is culture, literature, religion, and architecture. So you kind of see how this idea of grapes plays out here, right? So again, it's spelled Uruk, okay? And let me go back up here, having a little trouble here. Okay, boom. Okay, so Uruk, where am I at here? Okay, I'm going to go back up here. Okay, so the key thing to Uruk was where it was located, okay? And it was on these rivers in Mesopotamia, which means the land between the rivers. And the two rivers, and these are two rivers you're going to have to remember. We're going to talk about them again and again for the next about month. And after that, the Euphrates River and the Tigris River. Okay, that's where Mesopotamia means the land between the rivers, and that is where these ancient cities grew. And we're going to find that all these great cities started around rivers, and we know why. Because most of you, when you did your project, chose rivers, someplace that had water, because you could do farming. Okay, they raised sheep and goats. They grew wheat and barley, so they had farming. Their climate was changing, less rain was falling, so they needed to find new water sources. Okay, and the people moved into the two rivers, Valley of the Two Rivers. The soil is very fertile, and farmers could grow a lot of grain. The extra food fed others who did not farm. People also fished and hunted in the rivers and marshes. Okay, so what we're seeing here is geography. Okay, the Euphrates River was around, the Mesopotamia, Uruk was around the Euphrates and Tigris because the soil was fertile and they could farm. And we see in terms of economy, they grew a lot of food and they had extra grain to give out, so they had the ability to trade. Okay, so now let me go back up here. We'll continue our reading. Okay, writing beliefs in everyday life. Archaeologists started to investigate ancient Uruk, and they found that they had a writing system. It was one of the oldest in the world. The Uruk people wrote on clay tablets, and it's called cuneiform. Many tablets have survived today. So in terms of achievements, we have writing in this cuneiform. So that was an achievement, right? Now, we learned from the tablets that the people of Uruk built a temple to a sky god called An. Okay, so now we have religion. So they do have religion. And they also built temples. So that's architecture, which is also a part of their achievements as well. So, the priests were very powerful. Okay, and they handed out the food. So the priests were very, very powerful in the hierarchy in terms of their government. So that's the part of the politics. So the priests were very powerful in the politics. And then again, there was the god An, and she was a protector of Uruk. Okay, then around 3000 BCE, before the Common Era, Uruk reached its highest population of 50 to 80,000. There were 11 cities. They battled over land, but eventually a king ruled over a city. So we're getting back to the politics. Okay, if you're following along, we've hit almost all the major parts of grapes analysis. The clay tablets from Uruk give us the idea of what the society was like. Okay, here we got social structure now, and that is there were three groups. They had kings and priests at the top. They had common people and workers in the middle, and bottom were slaves, prisoners of war, and criminals. Okay, so again, when we're talking about that pyramid, they had three groups right there. So that goes into their social structure. We've hit all the aspects of grapes, haven't we? And then here again, we talk about economics. The first writing was used to track trade. So the writing allowed them to track what is being traded, so they knew what they needed to produce. So that allowed their economics to grow as well. And they also, another achievement is they had they created the system of circles and wedges, and the idea of 360 degrees came from there. Okay, so what we've done is we have gone over all the different things that were about Uruk, and now what we would do here when you go to your Nearpod, you'll do a match and pairs on all those different aspects of grapes, and how they were present in Uruk. Okay, so all you got to do is read through this, make the matchup, and you'll be able to figure that out easy. Okay, so finally, what we're going to do is your closing task is we're going to look at and talk about what aspects of grapes can I find to evaluate the complexity of Louisville. And I'm just going to ask you to go online, do some research on Google about Louisville, and what do you find out using the memory tool, the acronym GRAPES. Okay, so that's what we're going to do, team. That is it. And if you have any other questions, you can always come in on Alphas Hours. But overall, if you missed the class, you've pretty much got everything that we talked about. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye.